YouTube short form video, long form video is literally replacing the way that everyone is not just consuming content, but is watching things online. And the biggest shift we're going to start seeing with video isn't about just short form versus long form content. It's about random video posting versus actual programming. Last year, we got the data that more people are spending time watching YouTube compared to watching Netflix or other streaming services. And as we've seen kind of things go from routine, regular TV programming to channel guides to Netflix streaming, and now people are wanting to watch the things that they want to watch when they want to watch it from the creators that are actually putting it together on YouTube. So this video isn't about higher production or acting like a network. It's thinking about how your video content, specifically long form content like YouTube, can start acting like a TV show, which is what we're going to see happen in this next wave. So what I mean by TV style content with YouTube is just sequencing, episode style, familiar conversations, familiar faces, familiar topic, and kind of this like lean back viewing structure. With last year's data, it was also shown that more people have been watching YouTube on their actual TV, probably while doing something or just sitting on the couch watching it like it's an actual TV show. This doesn't necessarily mean that all of a sudden you have to do it in a really fancy studio setup or commit to a strict format that you can't break or feel like you're acting or performing for the sake of a video. And as YouTube is transitioning to kind of bigger screens, people just want to see more from the creators that they like, more from the entrepreneurs that they watch. People want this like parasocial relationship, people want familiarity, people want comfort, people want just like consistent content versus random spurts of content only when they need it or only when they're looking for something, which is usually how YouTube was treated in the past. So it's not just about people wanting to watch this random content. People are actually bonding with creators, entrepreneurs, people that are creating this content and essentially wanting to grow with them, wanting to move with them, wanting to be part of their lives, their decision making, and really get in tune with how they think and how they want to embody and embrace what it is that they're learning from them. So as we're seeing this transition go from just like random video posting into TV style content, specifically in this video, I'm going to be referencing YouTube and long form content, but I promise you could still apply these concepts to short form video, your Instagram profile, your TikTok, whatever that looks like for you. So there are like three main lanes of kind of TV style programming that we are probably used to seeing already or are just in touch with or people want to routinely watch. So we have like habit-based programming, which is probably like the same drop every single week. People know why and what they want to tune into. And there's usually around the same energy, the same type of expectation. This is how typically people operate on YouTube currently, but maybe between the videos, it does still feel random. There isn't a through line, but for the most part, they post the same time every week and people know when they want to go to their channel to actually watch the content that they want to watch and what they can expect from the content that they're tuning into. The second lane is kind of more of a structured concept where you do have kind of like this repeated episode logic. There is like clearly a difference between watching one video versus another, and where that show itself is essentially the brand. You are just tuning into what that person is doing every single time that they post. And lane 3 has this like seasonal sort of story arc where someone is documenting a journey that clearly has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so viewers are following that journey, not just that topic alone. And most of all, they're following the journey in terms of how the creator is sharing their perspective, their POV, and their thought process as they're going through this. So that TV feeling really comes from like that structure and continuity. So let's get into how you can actually create this for yourself and how to actually start thinking in that direction, whether it's something you want to implement this week, this month, or in a couple of months as you slowly pivot towards this direction as more people start doing it. So most of the time when we're creating a channel or creating a reason for us producing video content in general, we're just thinking, okay, what is the topic? What is my niche? What is it that I want to post? But you really need a premise for the viewer. Why should the viewer actually be watching your channel to begin with? You have to think about the viewer's relationship to your channel. So this isn't necessarily your niche or your topic or your expertise. Instead, here are the questions you kind of want to answer. So the first question is, who is the viewer when they actually press play? And who are you in their life? Are you a mentor? Are you a mirror? Are you a guide? Are you a companion, right? I think a lot about certain entrepreneurs and creators that definitely give off this mentor-mentee vibe, others that give off like the big sister energy, the best friend, right? And so think about what your role is in their life, but also who are they when they are watching your show. I also want you to think about how should someone feel after each episode ends? What is the takeaway? What is the breakthrough that they have? What is the end point that you want them to take away other than just learning new information? So think about it this way. The show exists for blank. who want to feel blank by watching me blank. And so the show exists for what viewer identity, who want to feel what type of emotional payoff by watching me do what type of core behavior, or by presenting like what type of thinking. The second part of that is thinking about, okay, like the actual format of the TV show. And most of the time people have trouble committing to a specific format because they feel like it needs to be the exact same thing all of the time with this exact same setup. And sure, again, other videos on YouTube are structured in that way where there is a familiar setup. You are seeing the same face, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this isn't TV show worthy. So I went ahead and looked at some of the top performing creators that I see, not just on YouTube, but are actually having people watch them over and over again. And this isn't just with subscribers, but thinking about people who have literally been increasing their watch time and their views week after week, month after month from a loyal based audience. So here are some like flexible formats that can actually work for you where they're not super scripted. You don't have to be tied to one thing, but you can start thinking about, okay, what show do I want to do in this current season? So the first thing is sort of kind of like your building mode, the build with me, if you will. This is very popular for entrepreneurs and founders or anyone who's kind of wanting to soft launch something. And so this is where a viewer watches decisions unfold. They're seeing business, life, systems, planning, and they feel smarter just by watching the way that you think, and you're watching the way that you plan, and they're watching you in the same way that you're making the decisions and bringing things to life. Now, this doesn't have to be just for the entrepreneurs and the founders and the business owners, but this can actually be from someone who is creating something in their life. Maybe they're putting together their office. Maybe they're putting together their home. Maybe they're putting together a new lifestyle. The next thing is the experiment, which is essentially trying something publicly. Not just thinking about if it worked or not, but actually thinking about what actually changed during this experimentation process. How did the person actually document this experience? Kind of pivot in their own way of thinking, the way of behaving. What am I learning from watching someone experiment through this process? This is really perfect for specific seasons, if you're trying specific trends, specific workouts, specific styles of living. All of those things can fall into this experiment format. The next thing is more so the walkthrough, and this is more about thinking about like a past and present or hypothetical. So thinking about a scenario and showing people how you would walk them through this. And so I am thinking about a specific creator who, I guess their whole premise was like showing people who don't have a like father figure in their life how to be respectable men and boys and things like that. And so he was walking them through different scenarios and different cases of life and doing different things from how to ways of thinking, to dating, to all of these things. But again, people knew that that was kind of the father figure that they can kind of count on. They were kind of like the child in that aspect, and their relationship wasn't just how-to content. It's seeing him unfold time and time again, how they would be walking them through this chapter of their life. The next version of this is kind of a docu-vlog, which is like a documentary and a vlog combined. So thinking about a day, a trip, some sort of reset, some sort of prep. And here's the key: people don't want to just watch your day in the life with no intention. There has to be meaning involved into that, whether you can tie this to a value, a breakthrough, an identity, something that again the viewer can get out of it versus just I'm watching some random person on the internet do their thing. Most of the time we love watching this from celebrities or creators or entrepreneurs who we already know and already have some established trust, but this isn't just good enough if you are someone that's new to this and doesn't have a reputation like these people do or haven't built that trust with your audience. Most of the time from something like this, people do still want some sort of payoff and some sort of takeaway that they can get from watching these routinely. And then the next thing is the conversation. So this is kind of like the podcast. This is kind of like a group thing. It can even be like a game, a challenge, a competition that's happening just amongst a group of people. But essentially there's just some group aspect and element to it. Or this can also be just solo dialogue and self-reflection. I'm seeing this be a lot more popular with creators who are just doing a lot more face to camera, no crazy editing, even no crazy setup. Sometimes they're on the couch with a microphone and they're just talking to the camera and they're still getting loads of views because again, they're sharing something valuable. They're sharing that element of connection. People can actually connect with you through the camera without all the crazy production and editing and things like that. And usually it's focused on, again, one specific idea that they're trying to get them through. Or same thing, if I'm thinking about a game, a competition, podcast episodes, there's usually a reason why people would want to tune in over and over again. Maybe it's a great interviewer, maybe they have great guests, maybe they discuss topics that are in alignment with where you are in life, maybe they bring in different creators that you like watching. Maybe this is your version of reality TV, but that's kind of the angle here. And most importantly, with all of these styles, you're not labeling them. Like you're not telling your audience, hey, this is a docu-vlog, or hey, I'm building in public, right? Although sometimes people use that, but you're not labeling it front facing. Most of the time you are just taking this approach and implementing it within yourself and like with your strategy behind the scenes. And then like every show, we need to think about seasons. And I think when people think about seasons, they think about series. So something either super short or super long that they have to commit to. But all that a season is a focused chapter. And in this chapter, you are thinking about one specific question or one specific arc. Again, what is the beginning, what is the middle, and what is the end? That's all that a season is. And what a season does is it can reduce your burnout because it gives you one clear thought line to like think through everything and think about how you want to articulate this way, even if you don't have an idea for every single video in that season, but you know that this is what you want to capture in this current moment. The second thing, it gives viewers reasons to binge, reasons to go back to your channel, reasons to subscribe. And so this gives them, again, a clear theme that they can sit and commit to. And it also lets the creator evolve publicly. So once the season is over, you can change, you can pivot, you can decide what to do next, and there isn't necessarily a large repercussion. Most of the time, every single season is going to give you information, it's going to give you data that can better articulate what you want to do next. And so a season, I don't want you to think you have to commit into something for an entire year, but you can start with 4 to 6 episodes. You can start with 6 to 12 episodes, depending on what it is that you're actually trying to document. And finally, the question is, can you document different journeys at once? Can you document different formats at once? And the answer is yes, as long as they ladder up to the same premise. So remember in the beginning when I talked to you about what the relationship is with the viewer and your show, or the viewer and your channel, and what you're trying to make them feel and what do they want to watch you doing. And so if all of these journeys go hand in hand with that, and it's easy to keep up and kind of like keep a through line, and it doesn't seem chaotic where you're documenting like 10 different things at once, there is a way to do that successfully. There is a way where a viewer is actually going to feel attached because they're going to see multiple different angles from that perspective. But if a viewer has to like redecide if that channel's for them, if this content is relevant, if what you're doing is something that they want to continue watching, then that journey is not necessarily aligned, at least for that specific season. So I kind of drew it out here, but like basically we have, again, the premise, which is the show. You have the journeys, which is like kind of the storylines that you have. So business, lifestyle, identity. And then you have the format, which is essentially how they want to watch each of those storylines. So of course, if you're doing a formal build in public, watch me develop this 100K brand or something like that, of course, there's going to be behind the scenes. Sometimes they might be kind of like a story, like where you're just talking straight to the camera. There's going to maybe be the behind the scenes of some stuff. There's going to be walkthroughs of things. But overall, again, notice how the premise and the storyline is consistent, and someone doesn't necessarily have to rethink, wait, is this still for me or not? So the end goal is, again, to create this sense of consistency and familiarity even with yourself. And when I'm thinking about seasons versus series versus everything else, I think what's really good is to start off with, again, what is the premise of your show? What is the identity that you're trying to attract? What's the relationship that you have with the viewer? What is the emotional kind of takeaway that you want the viewer to have? And what do you want to watch them doing? The next thing is coming up with your next season. And this sure could be a series, but I feel like sometimes a series, when we think about that, we're thinking about just giving information in a specific period of time, giving them something tactical, but there isn't anything beyond that, versus thinking about the perspective shifts, the belief shifts, and things like that, and something that they can come back to also watch you implement in real time. And so when it comes to something like this, thinking about what is your season, how many episodes are you thinking about running this for, and what is the storyline? Even if you don't have, again, the play-by-play of each single episode, think about what is the journey, what is the end goal that I want to be able to say that I documented. And as you're coming up with these creative ideas, I would love to see where your creative brain is taking you. So share them with the comments, let people see what your ideas are, and support you along the way.